Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another top 10 list video. And today what we're discussing are my top 10 MCU Marvel Legends of 2021. And this list is going to consist of anything that was considered MCU. So that's movies, TV shows, what if, all that stuff is in this list. And I did kind of keep it pretty basic. The main list is going to consist of just like your regular 6-inch figures. And then I have like a subcategory for the bigger stuff. You know, your Build-A-Figures, your deluxe stuff, your crazy huge monsters like Ironmonger. I put all them in their own category. So they're not going to be a part of the main list. But I will give you my top pick for those types of figures too. But yeah, I was kind of surprised at how many MCU figures we saw this year because there wasn't a whole lot of huge MCU movies that were released. We had Shang-Chi and Eternals, and you know, that's kind of light compared to previous years. And yes, they did have a bunch of Disney Plus shows, which, you know, gave them a lot to work with, and we got a lot of figures from those, and that's cool and everything. But considering that there wasn't a whole lot of movies, I was pretty happy with the amount of figures we got based on the MCU. They kind of backtrack a little bit and gave us like some characters that we've needed for a long time. They redid a couple of things. So they got creative with it, and as a result, we ended up with some pretty dope figures. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this list. We have the old school Toy Biz Sam Raimi universe Spider-Man holding it down for us. Hopefully someone gives us a updated version of him sooner rather than later. I'd love to see Hasbro or Mafex do it. I think both of them would do a great job, but hopefully someone does it soon. But this Toy Biz one is dope, but he's gonna hang out with us just like Face Off Cap hung out with us for the comic book list. But enough about all that. Let's go ahead and get into the actual list. Starting this list off at the number 10 spot, we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Baron Zemo. And I just really like the way this guy looks. He's very well sculpted, and even though he's not the most exciting from like an action figure perspective, I think he does a really good job of capturing the look and vibe of the character from the show. And Baron Zemo is definitely one of my favorite villains in general, and I really like his portrayal in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so it's very cool to finally have a figure of him. And I think this one was very well executed. Like, he doesn't have like the most articulation ever, so he's not the funnest to play with or anything, but he doesn't need to be. I think the articulation he has works very well for the character, and I just love the look of this thing, especially the mask. You know, you could get some really cool pictures out of the mask, and the pointer finger adds some attitude to him, and I just think that he came out really, really dope. I hope to see some more Baron Zemo in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and, you know, off of that, I hope to see more Baron Zemo love in the comics and in the toy world. I know they have a new comic version on the way. I'm very excited about that, but I would like to get some more of his looks, you know, even his more, his modern, not like, I don't know what he looks like now, but I know when he came back while Bucky was being Captain America, he had a very cool look, and I like the way he looked during the Thunderbolts and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of different looks they could do for Baron Zemo, and hopefully he pops up in the movies more so that Hasbro are willing to explore some of those looks and give us more figures of this awesome character. And at the number 9 spot, we have Quicksilver from Age of Ultron. And this is another character that took Hasbro quite a long time to finally get to us. But when they did it right. So I'm happy that they waited, because this guy came out really nice. He's got some good sculpting work, some nice sculpting detail on the shirt, the pants, and the shoes and everything. The likeness to the actor is pretty good, I would say. I don't know if it's spot on perfect, but you know, you could see it and you definitely could tell who it is. So they did a pretty good job with all the sculpting work. He's got pinless knees, pinless elbows, so that is always nice. And he's got some really good articulation too. He has the standard stuff like double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, all that kind of good stuff. But then he also has a diaphragm cut, which is awesome. Hasbro really needs to start putting more diaphragm cuts on their figures, because this point of articulation is great. The only thing he's missing on the torso is a ball joint at the waist. That would have made his articulation perfect. But as it is right now, it's good enough for Quicksilver. You could get him into some good running poses. He looks awesome. And then he does come with some really good accessories. He probably has some of the coolest accessories that I've seen with a Marvel Legends MCU figure, and that would be these messed up Ultron pieces. Let me back them up a little bit. But yeah, these messed up Ultron pieces are freaking awesome. I would love to see more accessories like this from Hasbro. But yeah, these are great. Shout out to MCU Collector, because that's where I got this figure. He ended up with the extra and I needed one, so he hooked it up. As always, MCU Collector comes through. Make sure to subscribe to him if you aren't subscribed already. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. But, you know, he's awesome, so I'm sure you guys are already subscribed. But yeah, this is a great figure, and yeah, I like him a lot. Coming in at number 8, we have John Walker, aka U.S. Agent from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I have both versions here because they're basically identical to each other than the color and the fact that the blue version comes with an unmasked John Walker head sculpt, which is really, really well done. But yeah, both of these guys are awesome, you know, and you can't really go wrong with either one of these because they both look really good. The black and red version is a little inaccurate. It would have been nice if he had the white stripes on the chest and if they were in the right spot, and if he didn't have the star sculpted on the mask, just to make him look more accurate to the show. But I still think it's a really great looking figure. But if you want a really great figure that's a little bit more accurate to how he looked in the show at certain points, then this blue one is the way to go. And he comes with this freaking incredible unmasked head sculpt. I think they did a great job with that. But even on the masked heads, you could definitely see Wyatt Russell's face under that mask. It definitely looks like the actor, and they killed it. But this guy has some really good articulation, some really nice sculpting work, and I was really impressed with this U.S. Agent figure. I got the black one first, and I was kind of blown away by it, but it was bittersweet because of the inaccuracies. But then the blue one came along and saved the day. So both of these figures are very, very nice. And yeah, that's why they had to make the list for sure. And then coming through at the last minute to steal the number 7 spot, we have the integrated suit Spider-Man from Far From Home. And I'm a big fan of this design. I think it's a very cool costume for Spider-Man, and I like the way that he came to get it in the movie. I thought that was interesting. But the design looks good. Hasbro did a really good job with all the sculpting work. He's got pinless elbows, pinless knees, and he just looks really, really nice. He's got your standard Spider-Man articulation from Hasbro, and I think it's serviceable, but there are a couple of things they could do to improve on it a little bit, and hopefully they do that in the future. But, you know, adding a diaphragm cut or a ball joint at the waist or something would definitely improve the fun factor on their Spider-Man figures. But as it is right now, you know, it's serviceable, and he is fun to play with. This guy scored a couple of extra points because of how easy I was able to get him, and I was able to pick him up right after watching the movie. So I was all hyped up about the movie. I was like, damn, I want some toys from the movie. I stopped at the store, or actually I think I looked online to see what local Targets had them. I was able to find one, and then I went over and got it. It was awesome. It was easy, and you know, I was just, like I said, I was hyped up about the movie. I got the figure. I was hyped up about the figure, and then I was really impressed with it. You know, I think he came out very, very nice. But then he would have been higher on the list, but the fact that he's a Spider-Man figure means that every other company is going to do them. Like Figure Arts already has one on the way. I'll have that one, I think, early next week, and I'm sure that one's going to be better. I'm sure Mafex will do it eventually, and I'm sure that one will be better. But, you know, for right now, I really, really like this guy. And, yeah, I think it's awesome to be able to buy figures from like a movie or whatever so close to the release of the movie, and it's nice when they're really, really good. So I think they did a great job with this, and they definitely capitalized on the hype, you know, and kind of enhanced my experience of the movie. So that's awesome. But yeah, this is a really nice figure. So at the number 6 spot, we have Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch, as she appeared in WandaVision. And the highlight with this figure is definitely the sculpting work. I think they did a great job with the details. I think they did a nice job on the face. I know some people have complaints about the hair, but you know, the hair doesn't bother me at all. I think it looks awesome. It kind of looks like she's flying around or using her powers or something, so it's very fitting for the character. But yeah, she's a good looking figure. One thing I wish was different on her is that I wish she had pinless joints at the knees, but aside from that, I really don't have any complaints with her. I think that she's really nice, and I had a great time taking pictures of her when I first got her because I was experimenting with different types of lights and things like that, and I took some pictures that, you know, I thought were pretty cool with her and Vision. And Wanda Maximoff is definitely one of my favorite characters from the MCU. Vision was my favorite Avenger when I was growing up, so it's cool to see them like on screen and their relationship and everything. It's very, very cool, and it's nice to have a really good Wanda Maximoff figure as Scarlet Witch. You know, before she didn't quite feel like Scarlet Witch. I mean, she felt like Wanda Maximoff, but it kind of felt like a different version of her or something. You know, obviously it is, but you know, at the end of WandaVision, she really felt like Scarlet Witch to me, so I thought that was cool. I think they do a great job with her, and I think this is an awesome figure representing that. So she almost made it into the top 5. That's how much I like this figure, but then at the last minute, I was looking at what was the number 6 spot, and then I was like, you know what, I think I have to adjust fire here. So she kind of got bumped out at the last second, but still an amazing figure and definitely top 10 worthy. So I really like her. So now that we're about to get into the top 5, let's go ahead and take a quick detour to talk about some of the big figures that we got this year. And this category is going to include all kinds of different types of figures. We have some deluxe stuff, we have some Build-A-Figures, and then we have a 2-pack figure. So Hasbro really found a bunch of different ways to get us these bigger characters, and I think they covered a lot of ground. We have some like characters that we've needed for a long time. We have some completely new and unexpected characters. We have characters that have needed a redo. So they did a lot of great stuff, and I like that we have so many options when it comes to the bigger stuff. But as far as my favorite one goes out of these ones, I would have to give it to, I think I'm going to have to give it to Ironmonger. I think he was the most satisfying out of all these. Maybe because, you know, we've needed one for so long. And then right behind him, I'm going to go with Surtur. Like, these two are pretty much tied. I really like both of these figures. But I also really like Hydra Stomper. And he might have gotten the top spot, but I don't know. He just kind of, like I'm not crazy about how they did the waist. That's one thing I think could have been different. And I think Ironmonger's waist is just fine. He gets some good movement. But yeah, Hydra Stomper was really cool. And he looks even better with Captain Carter. So there you go. And then the Watcher was really nice. It's nice to finally have a Watcher in Marvel Legends. And it was just cool, like, getting all these figures around the same time that the show was on Disney Plus. Like, when it was new, you know, we would talk about the figures and the shows and everything. So it was a lot of fun. But I think that Ironmonger was probably the most satisfying. Let's take a look at him. And he came with a bunch of cool accessories. He has a bunch of great articulation, and he looks awesome next to Obadiah Stane. So, you know, they killed it with the big figures. And I'd have to say my number one pick as far as the big figures go is definitely Ironmonger. So I really like this guy. I was surprised by like the pistons and the sculpting work and the little bit of metallic paint they put in there. There's a lot of good stuff going on with this figure. So I highly suggest picking it up if you haven't already, because this guy is awesome. And at the number 5 spot, we have the Infinity Saga Odin. And personally, I think that this guy is probably one of the most slept on Marvel Legends figures to come out this year. Not a whole lot of people were talking about him. And it's a shame, because to me, this is like the perfect MCU Odin. I think that Hasbro did everything right here. The sculpting work is very well done. He's got all new parts, extremely well detailed, pinless elbows, pinless knees. He came with some good accessories. His alternate head is kind of goofy, and maybe that's part of the reason why people just like ignored this guy, because people started to use his alternate head on that old man meme, and it's like, okay, very funny, whatever. But you know, if you ignore that head, everything about this figure is pretty much perfect. And I don't even care about the alternate head, because this head is like an awesome Anthony Hopkins head sculpt. Like, everything to me is perfect right here. And I love that we could take the helmet on and off. It gives you all kinds of different display options. And I think that, like, this is everything that you'd want out of a 6-inch Odin figure, except for, you know, like a cloth cape. You put a cloth cape on this guy, it's unbeatable. But, you know, Hasbro doesn't really do that, so it is what it is. But for what we could expect out of Hasbro, I think they did everything right on this guy. And I really, really like him. So I feel like a dumbass because I never reviewed him, and I should have, because you know, just to kind of shine some light on him and let people know how dope he is. But thankfully, you know, I have the opportunity here with this list. So yeah, if you slept on this guy, I suggest maybe reconsidering it and going to check him out, because like it's the perfect MCU Odin figure in my opinion. Let me know in the comments if there's things here that you guys don't like about this figure. I'll be honest, I'm not like a super expert on the details of Odin's costume or his you know, the way he looks exactly in the movie. But when I see this, I go, damn, that's Odin, and he looks freaking awesome. So I'm very happy with this guy, and yeah, good stuff here. Shout out to everybody who took the time to appreciate him when he was out, because yeah, he was slept on, and he did not deserve it. But yeah, it's a nice figure. Coming in at number 4, we have the What If Captain Carter. And the main thing that I like about this figure is the head sculpt. I think they did such a great job on it, and I was a big fan of this whole concept. I know that episode of What If didn't really explore the whole what if concept to its full potential, but I still liked it. I thought it was very fun. It was cool to see Peggy Carter as like the super soldier of the whole story, and I thought it was cool, man. And I think this is a very cool design for the character. I really hope that she pops back up somehow, whether it's in like What If or in a movie or a solo TV show or a solo animated TV show. How cool would that be? Because I mean, maybe because it was the first episode of What If, but the animation in that show really blew me away. And I liked her fighting scenes a lot. She was out there whooping ass. And this figure's kind of enhanced by Hydra Stomper. When you have them both together, that's kind of where they're like, that's it right there, you know? Like, that is super dope. I did have some problems with Hydra Stomper. I didn't quite like him as much as I wanted to, even though I do love the figure. Like, it wasn't my favorite biggest figure, obviously, but you know, when you put these two together, it just works very well. You could hang Captain Carter from Hydra Stomper, like she could hold on to the handles and stuff, and that's very cool. And just in general, these guys, I mean, these two figures look very cool on the shelf together. So, but she was able to get the number 3 spot because of what a good job they did on this figure itself. Like, the paint is very clean, the articulation is good, the sculpting work is good. She's got pinless elbows and knees. All the good stuff that we want from Marvel Legends is in this figure. So I just really like this, and I really hope to see more of this character. And then coming in at number 3, we have the Avengers Infinity Saga Endgame Thor. And I really love the way this figure looks. And as far as I could tell, there's no reuse here. He's a completely new sculpt. Everything looks good, very well detailed, pinless joints, all the good stuff. The head sculpt is amazing. One thing that could have been different is that I wish he came with a powered down head sculpt. But aside from that, I just love everything about this figure. And it's crazy because he's actually much better than the figure arts version. So that says a lot, that this $25 figure is better in pretty much every way than a, you know, between $80 and $100 alternative. The only advantage that the alternative has is that it comes with some cool accessories, which is nice, but the main thing is that he has a cloth cape. Obviously, Hasbro doesn't do the cloth cape thing, but if they did, it would definitely improve their figures just a little bit. But that's the only advantage that the figure arts version really has over this guy. And I did do a comparison between the two figures. If you guys want to go check that out, it's on my channel. But yeah, I think this is a great figure, and you know, he's basically the import killer. So yeah, I think he's awesome. And one thing that kind of caught me by surprise with him is that he's a whole lot of fun to play with. I really wasn't expecting that from this version of Thor, but the articulation is pretty good. He's got that diaphragm cut, which I always like, and the cape doesn't really get in the way. So, you know, although a cloth cape would have been better, I don't hate this plastic cape. I think that the figure still looks good and it doesn't hinder the articulation, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, I think this is an awesome figure, and that's why he landed in the top 3. And then at the number 2 spot, we have the Infinity Saga Iron Man 1 Mark III Iron Man. And this is by far the best movie Iron Man figure that Hasbro has given us. It fixes a lot of mistakes that previous Iron Man figures had, and just everything about this guy is extremely well done. He looks amazing. He's got some pretty good articulation. I like that he has drop down hips. I don't think we've seen that on very many movie Iron Man figures from Hasbro, so I'm glad that they got around to doing that because it really works very well on this guy. And yeah, he's just a lot of fun to pose around and play with. He came with some really cool accessories. He had like weapons for his arm, multiple hands, and then he does have this awesome head sculpt with the mask flipped up, and then he has a really cool like Robert Downey Jr. head sculpt in there with an amazing likeness. So just in general, I think this is like probably one of the best Iron Man figures, period, from Hasbro. So they did a great job with it. I will say that it's probably not the best Mark III Iron Man that money could buy. Like, Figure Arts has a really good one. I would probably say the Figure Arts one is a little bit better, but for the price, this guy cannot be beat. For like, you know, 25, 30 bucks, this thing is well worth it. He came out really nice, and yeah, I just think that I'm not sure what Hasbro could have done better here, you know, considering like for what they do. Maybe like some, no, I was going to say maybe some type of butterfly joint. I think, no, he doesn't really have a butterfly joint, I don't think. But maybe like a better butterfly joint would have been cool. But aside from that, like, you know, I can't really find anything to complain about. I would really have to get in there and nitpick and find things I dislike about it. I think for the most part, Hasbro killed it. So this is a really good figure. And you know, the fact that it's the best version of, you know, it's the best version from Hasbro of like such a big character. That's kind of why he made it to top 2, you know. It's kind of like, man, we've needed a good Iron Man from Hasbro. I have never really been happy with the Hasbro movie Iron Man figures. They always kind of piss me off, but this one here took them out of the box and I was completely satisfied. So I was really happy with this one. And before we get into the number one, let's go ahead and talk about a few figures that almost made it into the top 10. I briefly considered all three of these, but I just couldn't find a place for them, so they ended up in the runner-up category. On the left here, we have the Infinity War Walmart exclusive Captain America. I think this is a pretty cool figure. I like the head sculpts, I like the new arms, I like the shields, but I think they should have retooled the body to give him more articulation, and I really wish that he would have had pinless joints at the knees. If he had those two things going on, he would have definitely been very high on the top 10 list. As it is right now, I think he is a pretty cool figure, and he is worth picking up. Over here on the right, we have T'Challa as Star-Lord from the What If episode, and I was very surprised by how much I like this figure. I really wasn't expecting to be that into it, but once you have it in hand, I think it's a very cool looking figure, all brand new parts, really cool looking animated style head sculpt, and this episode of What If was definitely one of my favorites, so I was happy to get the figure. And then last but not least, we have Shang-Chi, and this guy, he was very close to getting into the top 10, and if he would have had a diaphragm cut or a ball joint at the waist, he would have been in there, because I really think this is a great figure, and this figure is so good, it actually kept me from buying the SH Figure Arts one. I don't know if the Figure Arts one is better, but like for me, this one's good enough. He's got a really good sculpt, some pretty good articulation, but there's just, I really wish they would have upgraded the articulation, especially for a character like Shang-Chi. You know, obviously, he's a fighter, martial artist, and all that stuff, so he should be super posable. And this guy, he's pretty posable, but I just wanted a little bit more out of it. But still, it is pretty much the only Shang-Chi I need, and I think he's awesome. So that's why he's in the runner-up. He's definitely worth picking up if you haven't already. But all three of these figures, you know, depending on the day, maybe these could have been in the top 10, you know, but these lists are constantly changing. I was kind of going back and forth with this list, trying to figure out a place to put these guys, but I couldn't. At the moment I was recording the video, I couldn't remove anyone in the actual top list, so I had to put them where they are, but still, all three of these are very nice figures. And then coming in at the number one spot, this figure is not only the best MCU Marvel Legends figure, it's the best Marvel Legends figure of 2021, period. And to be honest, it wasn't even close. As soon as I got this figure, I knew that he was going to be the one to beat, and nobody came close. I hate to say it, but this thing was so far above all the other Marvel Legends figures this year, in my opinion, and that is none other than the What If Zombie Captain America. Look at this awesome, beautiful thing. I just really love this figure. I was really surprised by the amount of gore and blood and all that stuff, and I really want to salute Hasbro for their commitment to that, because that's not really something that they do very often. But with this Captain America, they went all out. He's bloody, he's nasty. The sculpting work on him is very well done. The articulation is really good too. I was happy to see some upgrades in the articulation, like he came with a diaphragm cut, which is nice. And if the Walmart exclusive Infinity War Captain America had the same articulation as this guy, then he would have definitely made the list. He probably would have been at number 2. I don't think he would have topped this guy, but he still would have been very high up on my list if they made those upgrades. But I was really happy to see them on this guy, and man, this is just such a nice figure and a surprise, a huge surprise from Hasbro. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this guy. I just really love it. I've talked about it in multiple videos. I've already reviewed him, so be sure to check that out. You know, he always pops up in videos, then I talk about how much I like him. I'm always talking about him in my live streams. I make posts about him. My love for this figure is very well documented at this part, so I'm sure it's not a surprise to most people that he's at number 1. But I'm sure he's going to be number 1 on most people's list, because that's how incredible this figure is. And yeah, with that, I think that's it. I really hope that you enjoyed this top 10 video list. Be sure to let me know your top 10 MCU Marvel Legends figures in the comments below. I always look forward to reading those. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this list. And thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff if you haven't already. Thank you very much. Peace.